it so for today. Let it be so for today. So thank you very much for showing up for today's session. I'm quite thankful. I think we'll start off with a word of prayer. Let's start off with a word of prayer because I'm a believer. So we will do things the godly way. So Father, we thank you and we give you praise for an opportunity, Father Lord, to gather together to learn today. Father Lord, we don't just want to have head knowledge. Father, we ask that you will activate us and give us the ability, Father, to implement all that we have heard. In Jesus' name, amen. So the way today's class will go, if you have a question, you can type it in the chat, and I'll be taking courses to answer questions. It's just a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So you can just drop the questions in the chat, and I'll pause to take the questions and get answers. So today's session is time management for virtual assistants. This is from the AMA virtual assistant community. So before we start, let's meet AMA. Who is AMA and why is she qualified to speak to us? So Adenike Adebola, that's my name. I'm the convener of the AMA. AMA are actually my initials. My middle name is Moronke, so I'm Adenike Moronke Adebola. And I genuinely had a leading from the Spirit to start this community towards the end of last year, because God just told me that it was the next level or the next thing to do. I've always supported people and done quite a number of virtual assistant roles. Majority of them have been freelance and more or less pro bono free. And then God told me that it was time to take it to the next level, because I realized people always tell me that when they give me ideas, anything that is buzzing in their heads, that I'm able to help them drop something that will help them execute what they are thinking. And I believe that the virtual assistant is a good person that can help us with executing the things that we are thinking about. So I basically started the community based on a leading. And the concept of the community is to empower virtual assistants to support busy individuals and small, well, I'll say MSME, micro, small, and medium enterprises. That's what MSME means, owners. Because the challenge with MSMEs is that they don't have enough funds to hire full-time staff, but they have so much work that if they don't manage it, they will not be able to go get bigger because they are doing everything by themselves. But hiring a virtual assistant is a good midway for them, because then they can have someone that is not fully on their payroll, because the virtual assistant can support more than one SME at a time. The concept of our community is that we will get as many people as possible to support, so that then we can support our community. And the concept of the community is not to say that, oh, because you belong to the AMA virtual assistant community, you can't work elsewhere. So we don't want to tie you down. We want you we will pay you when you work for us, but we don't want to tie you down for the times that you don't have work with us. We expect you to go out, do other things, and improve on your productivity, get more skills, so that when we need those skills, we can call on you. So next slide. Please, like I said, if you have any questions, please just put them in the chat. So what's the objective of this webinar? The objective of this webinar is to understand the importance of time management, identify common time management challenges, learn practical time management techniques, and develop strategies to overcome distractions and to set boundaries. Unfortunately, my graphics are not coming out well on, I don't know what's happening, because I had really nice graphics, but unfortunately it didn't work out well. by the time he made it to Zoom. So any questions so far? Any questions so far? Can you hear me?
No, I'm just following.
Okay. All right. So if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat, please. So why does time management matter, particularly for the virtual assistants? The virtual assistant. Remember I said that the virtual assistants, the concept that we have in our community is that we want to be able to support as many MSMEs as we can. So we need you to be able to manage your time so well that you can be able to, you'll be productive. And productivity, the concept of productivity is that, you know, a number of us, I will tell you that I need you to finish ironing my clothes, or well, let me use something technical. I need you to send me the 15-page Word document that based on research that you're supposed to do for me that I want to pay you for. And you're going to be paid by the hour, right? And so if it takes Adenike 2 hours to produce top quality, maybe a 15-pager that is top quality, well-researched, etc., and it takes Shola 4 hours to produce the same, which one of them is more productive? Adenike or Shola?
Adenike.
Adenike, right? And that's because she's able to get the work done in less time without compromising on quality and other important parameters. So what we want to do is that when we teach you to manage your time effectively, that means that if we pick Shola, Shola is going to spend 4 hours to deliver what Adenike will pick in do in 2 hours. That means Adenike would have produced twice what Shola would produce in 4 hours, which means that for every, if we are paying Adenike and Shola the same amount, particularly, we are getting more value from Adenike than Shola. But then some people will now say, so is Adenike the foolish one that will be finishing in 2 hours when Shola is still going to earn the same amount and finish in 4 hours? Those are the conversations that, you know, we like to think about and talk about. But one thing I've noticed is that the Adenikes of this world, they may start off in life earning the same amount as Shola, the Sholas of this world, but not long, as in if they're patient and they stay consistent, they'll be picked up by people that value their productivity. And then there'll come a time when Shola will go like, oh, but Adenike and I, we started at the same level. We were doing the same work. I don't know, then maybe some of them that are not, I don't like to be honest with themselves. They'll go like, oh, there's favoritism in this office. She and I, we work the same hours, but do you deliver the same number of deliverables within the same hours? Many times the Sholas of this world don't like to have that conversation. They just like to stay in the place of, oh, I come to work early and I'm here for the 8 hours they said we should come for. But Shola, what did you deliver in 8 hours compared to what Adenike delivered in 8 hours? So that's the productivity conversation. And most often than not, when as a manager, if I'm trying to push Adenike forward, for example, for a promotion, I'm going to be able to say that, oh, what others deliver in 4 hours, Adenike is able to deliver it in 2 hours. So she exceeds expectations, assuming 4 hours is the benchmark. And then I can justify why I'm asking that Adenike needs to be moved from her current role as a junior analyst to becoming maybe an intermediate or a senior analyst. I've had an experience like this at work where one of my direct reports, she came to ask me that, why does it seem like I favor another person that was supposed to be on the same level as she was in the organization? And I couldn't explain to her that the issue was productivity, because when they are both given the same tasks, the energy I have to put into supervising the person that was asking me the question was far higher than the energy I had to put in for the other person in terms of supervision. But there was a lot of personality things going on there. So productivity is one of the things that we cannot really explain to you, but when you are productive, you will know you are productive. And so if you effectively manage your time well as well, it will reduce stress. And if you are managing your time well, you won't be having challenges with, oh, you are behind, you are late. So imagine if we've promised a client that we are going to deliver maybe they want us to help them sort through their files and maybe do some data entry, for example, and they want to use, or maybe they've got insights from their Instagram account and they want us to help them interpret the data so that they can make business decisions based on that. And we've told them that, oh, we are going to deliver on Friday. They will now give the job to Shola. And Shola was going at his pace. And it ends up delivering on Monday. But we had already promised that we would submit the task on Friday. But because maybe Shola did not manage his time well, he still got the job done, but it was ready on Monday. Do you think we'll have a satisfied client? Are you with me? Hello? Okay. I'll continue. I don't believe that clients will be happy if it discovers that we had agreed on a Friday and then we are bringing the most correct version of the work on Monday. That means we haven't managed our time properly. And if we manage our time properly, it will improve our work-life balance. I'll move on to the next slide if there are no questions. So the next slide, what are the common time management challenges that are faced by virtual assistants? Like I originally noted, as I noted earlier, managing multiple clients is one of the challenges. But one of the good things with being a member of this community is that we'll be able to help you look at your workload, and considering your level of productivity, we'll be able to advise you. Well, when you're working for us, we'll look at all of that before we assign you clients, because we don't want to overwhelm you and we also don't want to upset our clients. So one of the other challenges that virtual assistants face in managing their time is, how do you determine what is urgent and what is important? Which one should you do first? And we're going to learn about the Eisenhower matrix. It helps us to prioritize. Another issue, time management issue that everybody in this world faces, is dealing with distractions, because many times we've planned our day. In fact, yesterday, the lady that made my daughter's hair, we had agreed on a time. I think we agreed on 5:30. And by the time she looked at the way her day was going, she told me, oh, that she's going to be late because her plan, the thing she planned was that she would get to a particular client and she had looked at, oh, it shouldn't take her more than 30 minutes or 1 hour, whatever. But by the time she got there and she saw the enormity of the work she had to do, she realized that she was going to be late. Then she got to the next client. That one made her later. She didn't get to her place until it was like 8 p.m., which was 2.5 hours after we planned. And of course, that means she got home far later. She said she had planned to make food or something, so she wasn't going to be able to do that. Why? Because the time and the distractions and all of that had messed up her plans for the day. Then another issue is that we don't know how to set boundaries. So if there are no questions, I'll move on with my slides. So what techniques can we use to improve on time management? So we'll start with the first one, which is prioritization. And we can use methods like the Eisenhower matrix. We can look at time blocking. That's by allocating specific time slots for tasks. We look at the Pomodoro technique, which is working in focused intervals with breaks. And then we have task batching, which is grouping similar tasks together. So I'll move on to the next slide if there are no questions. Do you have any questions? Please feel free to stop me at any point. Oh, this didn't come up. This didn't come out well. I'm not too happy about that. So for the Eisenhower matrix, you have, it's like a matrix with 4 quadrants. So at the top, you have what is important, what is urgent, what is important, what is not urgent, what is not important. So the one that is urgent and important, you need to do it yourself. The one that is urgent, but it is not important, you can afford to delegate that one. The one that is urgent and not urgent, but it is important, you can decide when exactly you want to do it. And the one that is not urgent and not important, you take it off your list. But you have to start off, you have to first of all list out all the tasks that you have for the day. Then you can begin to knock them out and see which ones. And delegation is one of the most powerful tools that we don't use. If you have someone that you can afford to train to do some tasks for you, it may take you some time at the beginning, but if you invest the time, you will come back and you will reap. Someone did the maths, and I think it was something like 2,500. The return on investment was like 2,500 or something that spectacular. So do we have any questions so far? Any questions? I'll take it as a no. So I'll move on to the next slide. I will talk about time blocking. So how do we implement time blocking? You have to first of all identify your peak productive hours. We are not all productive the same way at the same time. So we know that 1 hour has 60 minutes, but there are some hours that are more important than other hours. For people that are morning people, it's best to put most of your most important and urgent tasks in the morning when you have the energy, and then you can then maybe deal with other stuff in the afternoon and evening. And if you're an afternoon person, you arrange your tasks so that you do more of your important tasks in the afternoon when you're ready. And if you're an evening person, same. So so when you know, if for example, if Shola is a morning person, Shola can look at it that, oh, I do more of my important tasks. I give more of my best in the morning. That's when I'm ready. That's when work is in my body. And so all the important things that maybe something that is due on Wednesday, you start it off on Monday morning, because you know that you have that burst of energy to do what you are supposed to do. So you get started early enough and on Monday, so that by the time you begin to feel a bit tired on Monday, tired and all of that, you can pick up with things that may not be so urgent, but are important, and you like them, you like doing them. You can pick those ones at your non-peak periods, because your natural enthusiasm will compensate for the urgency. Then you also have to make sure that you include breaks so you don't burn out. Then you have to review and adjust as is necessary. So we move on to the next slide. The next slide is about the Pomodoro technique. So this is the steps to the technique. You choose a task, you set a timer for 25 minutes. You work on that task until the timer rings. Then you take a 5-minute break. You repeat it 4 times, then you take a longer break. And so it will help you be productive. You know that you did something useful for 100 minutes or more, which is over an hour. So let's move on to the next slide. Task batching. What are the benefits of task batching? They reduce the transition time between tasks. So you look for tasks that are similar. So for example, you need to maybe do some data entry for 6 clients. You can batch those tasks together so that once you finish one, you just go to the next spreadsheet and you continue with the same energy. And it improves your focus and efficiency because you know that, oh, or you could just tell yourself that for today, I'm just going to focus on the data entry tasks that I have for my different clients. And you do that. Another day, you could say that I'm just going to focus on researching. I want to research. And you do just that. So examples of tasks to batch, emails, social media posts, administrative tasks, they will help you. You'll get help. I'll move on to the next slide. So we have some tools and apps that can help us, and they're listed on this slide. You can read through them. The slides will be made available to people that registered for the webinar. So if you're listening to this and you did not register, you should send a message, a DM perhaps to OA&AA Ventures on Instagram, or send an email to oaaaventures@gmail.com. So there's setting boundaries. So the tips for setting boundaries, you have to communicate your availability to clients, let clients know. So if we are talking now to members of the virtual assistant community, and so we will be the ones helping you with ensuring that you are not overwhelmed with too much work. Then you need to set your specific working hours. So that's why if you look at the form I sent out for everyone, we needed to know your time zone so that and your available working hours so that we can plan our work around that. Then avoid overcommitting. So if you look at your calendar and we're asking you that is it possible for you to help us with so and so, the money is good, but you don't want to burn out. So you probably need to look at it and be sure you're not overloading yourself. And as much as possible, use tools to manage expectations. And let's go on quickly to overcoming distractions. So one of the things that will help you with managing distractions is to create a dedicated workspace. So you know that when you are in that place, you are working and nobody is going to be able to distract you. You can use noise cancelling headphones. You should limit your social media usage when you're working. Then you can implement do not disturb periods where nobody's supposed to disturb you, except it is super critical, particularly for mothers with children. I know that is one of the most challenging things when you're working and then you need to pay attention to your kids, but you're going to need to remind yourself that you're being paid for this task or this job. So you should give it your attention just as much as your family needs your attention. So work-life balance is another important thing for virtual assistants because if you're not careful, you just be working because the money is good, but you have to refuel. You have to consider the time you spend on taking care of yourself as an investment. Just like you shut down your computer for a bit so that it can rest, you should shut down personally as well. So you have to schedule personal time. So for example, for me, yesterday, I was feeling a terrible headache. And so all my commitments and all, I just got to everyone and I told them that I'm sorry, I won't be able to do XYZ today because I really need to shut down and I need to reduce my screen time. So it's very important to take regular breaks, practice self-care, and know when you need to unplug. Okay, next slide. So we've more or less come to the end of today's training. If you can hear me, please let me know. And we are asking questions if we have any at this time. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions?
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And I do have questions now. In the case whereby you're in a work environment and let me say they make a lot of noise. In the sense, let me say decent noise, I would call it, because you might discuss issues that affect you as a person or a scenario with an employee. And you might gain one or two things from it while you're working. You understand?
Okay. So
How
who
do
are
you
those?
cope?
Who did you say are making noise?
My colleague,
Okay. Okay.
we share an office, and thereby, okay, there's a discussion that comes up, and you have 3, 4 people involved in that discussion, and you might learn a thing or two from it. But the thing is, you need to get the work done.
Exactly.
However you try to do it, you have to get the work done. So several
Exactly.
times I plug in my ears and try stay focused on what I'm doing. But distraction, noise is noise, whereby it can filter through, or probably somebody comes at that time and asks you for things. How do you cope with that?
Thank you very much for your question. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And, I've experienced stuff like that really where, particularly, and I think one of the things that used to upset me really was that the people coming to make the noise and all, they're probably taking an ego break. So they are on their own break, which means that they have managed their own time. So that time that they are coming to come and discuss with me is their own time for taking a break from after doing productive work. Then they are coming to come and disturb me that I'm trying to do productive work, right? So what I just try to do is that if the first day that you come and do that, I'm polite and I'm like, oh, I answer you, or I guess the scenario you're talking about is that it's not even you they came for, maybe it's your colleague they came to talk to. So I'll answer both. Let's assume they came to meet you, and thankfully you share an office, so it's going to be your reason for telling them that, please hold on, what do you want?
I just wanted to inform you of something that is not too urgent.
Okay, if it's not urgent, please.
In that toilet, I found a small area that I think could be the part that is a bathroom.
What?
I
Okay,
think there's a bathroom.
okay, so we'll talk.
I'm sure you know.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry, so that's part of the distractions we were talking about. Anyway, so I'll look at the two scenarios. One scenario is that they came to talk to you. So you can take advantage of the fact that you are in a shared office, and then let them know that maybe when they sit down and they're talking and all, you now come and you're like, I'm sharing an office. We can't talk for too long because I'm distracting my colleague and all of that. When the first day, they are probably going to go like, what's there? Why you people so serious here? Why so serious? But it sticks with them that you take your job that seriously, because you didn't come. If you wanted to gist, you could have stayed at home, but you came to work. So you are going to need to draw that boundary for your own friends. Let's start from there. So if you have drawn boundaries with your own friends and your office mate has heard you when you were talking to your friend and telling your friend that, oh, we need to get back to work, you have also set the example to your office mate, for your office mate to know that you value your job and you don't want any distractions. So you also are not distracting him or her. So that the day that it is your office mate's friend that comes to start making noise, after the person has, maybe you've given them like 2 minutes, 3 minutes to cut it out, then you can speak to your office mate and say, oh, sorry, I'm in a meeting, or I'm trying to get something done. The noise is actually distracting me. But we don't really like to have hard conversations. But for me, I'm not sure there's a way around it, because we all need to understand that we didn't come to work to gist with our friends. We didn't come to work to laugh with our friends. It's good to have friends at work, but we need to also make sure that the boundaries are well set so that we are not using work time for personal pleasure. We know that sometimes, yeah, you probably need to take like a 5-minute break, a 10-minute break, but by the time you're spending 1 hour having conversations, and it's just bringing me back to quite a number of instances that I had back when I was working in a camp, a closed camp, and so we were living on site, and so because everyone is missing home, they're trying to be, they are trying to make bonds and all of that. So I would always, I would always give room for that, give grace for that. So if I find out that I've spent quite a lot of time talking with people, because every day when I get to work, I give myself a target on what I want to achieve that day. And if I've not achieved my target personally, because, well, I'm not going to take a bus, I'm living in the closed camp already. So it's not like I'm rushing anywhere. I'm just trying to get back to my room so that I can rest. So it's not like I'm trying to avoid traffic. So if yesterday I overtalked and I had to leave late, it will regulate me for the next day. And I'll know that, okay, I need to cut out on my conversation. And meetings are always a lifesaver. So when you have to go for a meeting, anything that you people were doing, any gist that you people were gisting has to be cut short because you have to go into a meeting. And if it's still becoming more of a nuisance, if you've tried to speak with your colleague, and because your colleague's friends are the ones coming, you probably want to go to your manager and have a conversation, not in a way that you are reporting, but to say that it is affecting your productivity, that you've tried to speak with your colleague, but you're not seeing any changes, that you like the manager to please intervene intervene informally, that you don't want to make it a formal thing yet, that you still like to exhaust every informal option that is available. So your manager may need to, if the person is in your department and your manager is your office mate's manager, your manager can call your office mate and have a conversation about how his or her own behavior is affecting your productivity, and that they would like them to keep it on the low. And hopefully your manager will handle it tactfully. And so we're basically following the biblical way, which is that if your brother offends you or annoys you, you call him or her and you have that conversation with him or her. If they agree with you, then you've won a brother. If they don't agree, you're supposed to escalate. That is, I know people don't like to escalate because we are very, very conflict avoidant, but it's affecting your productivity. You need to document it. And that's where I'll put a pause. Of course, in case anybody is listening afterwards and they have an opinion or something that we can do better, we are always open to learning. And I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, you have. I want to ask another scenario now. In the
Please
case
go on.
whereby you need your superior's input on a particular task, right?
Okay.
You've submitted it to be approved.
Okay.
You waited. He said he didn't understand it. You had to bring him up to speed on with the scenario surrounding that approval. And they discussed, what is the SLA with the client? What did we agree that summed up to this approval and all that? He discussed it. Okay, then he said he will work on it. And day one, no work done. Day two, you sent a reminder. And you need your feedback to the client, you're working on it, is yet to get approved. Once it's approved, the actual task to be carried out will be done. Now you cannot go to the client and say it has not been approved. You have to wait. He that is your superior has not approved it. You don't hear any word if it has been done or so. What do you do in this time lapse? Because it creates anxiety at some point.
Okay, so what does your service, I think it's service level agreement per se, what does it say regarding the period between when something is submitted for approval and when it should be approved? Do you have anything in the documents that says that if anything has been submitted
Within 48 hours
within
maximum to be approved?
So you
Yes.
probably want, when you are writing to your boss, you probably want to highlight that that you want to meet the 48 hours requirements per the SLA. So that's the why it is urgent, and you put urgent on the whole thing. Depending on the way, because for me, if I was the one, I've done it to people, but I just don't like to encourage people to the path of violence. I will typically copy my manager's manager. By the time I'm writing to you for the third time, for example, I'm probably going to be escalating to someone. So what I've learned is that if it's within my power to do it, if everything is within my power, I do it to the best of my ability. If it's something that someone that reports to me can do, even if I can do it, but there's someone that reports to me that can either do it or is very close to the level of competency to do it, then I delegate at that point, and I let the person do, so that I can take on other tasks that require my expertise that the other person cannot do. And if there's stuff that is beyond me, that requires input from someone that is above me, I escalate. So I start with my manager. And if I want to put my manager on the spot, I don't know how it is for your own organization. I don't know if it's possible for you to copy the client, the person that needs the approval, so that the person can see where the holdup is, so that you have reported your manager without reporting. And for many organizations that I know, particularly when it comes to things like approvals and things that require that level of sensitivity, there should be a second person that you can copy in that your email that can override your manager if your manager has not responded after a certain time. But I don't know the way your organization works. So I'll just give you what I consider to be generic. But again, maybe if you can send this to me, let's think it through and see if it's possible to come up with better solutions, and you probably will be able to give me more details when it's not recorded. I think this is actually my cue to stop recording.